welcome to today's episode of the Balanced Approach podcast. I'm your host, Louis Padian. I hope that you're doing well and are enjoying the podcast and the topics we've covered so far. These podcasts are released every Monday, Wednesday and Friday, so be sure to subscribe wherever you are listening to be kept up to date. So today we're covering one thing that I feel lets people down, and often people do quite poorly each day and can be a huge thing that can be pretty much easily improved. And that's sleep. And we can make a huge amount of progress just with a little focus, in my opinion. And with this, with everything that we do, with the balanced approach, and it's not about being perfect, it's just about trying to make these small improvements a little bit better and having the consistency with them, reap the rewards long term. So just focusing on better, not perfect. It is one of the foundation habits, in my opinion. It's one of the things that often, if I had one thing to focus on with a client, it would probably be this. And I feel that often from there we can build some really, really strong and meaningful progress. If it's not in a good place, it makes everything so much harder, and often we can't get where we want to be because it's just so crucial and plays such a varied and wide role in a lot of things that we do. So it's not just about seeing the benefits from having better sleep as well. It's about avoiding the negative impacts from it as well. So it's a double-edged sword, really. It's one of the things that's often overlooked, and that's why I wanted to have a look at it, because within weight loss, performance, general health and well-being, work performance, mood, relationships, it just plays such a crucial role. So here are a few things that I thought would be really important for you to sort of sit on and think about. So if we're looking for weight loss, when comparing less than 7 hours sleep with the 7 to 8, which we'd normally recommend, here are some of the things that we might see. So people are more likely to be overweight and obese according to research. The hunger hormones play a really interesting role. So we tend to be more hungry and less satisfied with our meals, which again links in with that obesity and being overweight. People tend to crave higher calorie foods as well on poorer sleep. This is all research based. And people are less likely to engage with physical activity, and people are more likely to be overweight and obese when actually they can eat considerably what we consider a healthy, balanced diet and exercise. So combining those things together is sort of a recipe for disaster when we're looking to lose weight, and probably resulted in weight gain, because poor sleep, we're going to probably crave those higher calorie foods and be less inclined to move. We are going to have more difficulty sort of satisfying that hunger and leaning into it and dealing with hunger, and it's just not going to be something that's sustainable long term. But when we look beyond that, because although I help people lose weight, we often look at the wider and the more meaningful stuff around sort of health and disease, and there's some really interesting stuff that I found around there as well. So when we're comparing 7 and 8 hours, again, what we'd sort of recommend between that 7 to 8 hours, 7 to 9 hours, people who slept 6 hours or less were 38% more likely to develop type 2 diabetes, 12% more likely to die from all causes, 18% more likely to develop heart disease, and 15% more likely to develop a stroke, 2.4 times more likely to develop depression, 1.8 times more likely to develop anxiety, and 23% more likely to develop any type of cancer. So those statistics, those aren't the sort of flash ones that you might see with regards to making that before and after photo. And when we're looking at sleep, this is something that can actually help and save people's lives potentially, and have a meaningful impact on the quality of life long term. Another one as well was that people who did sleep less than 6 hours more likely to develop things like colds and flus and things like that. So again, it's not just the long-term health implications, but those short-term health implications of catching more bugs up and things like that, and having your immune system sort of compromised a little bit, again, makes it difficult to string those weeks together with regards to making physical changes, with regards to strength training, getting fitter, managing our weight a bit better. And they're sort of maintenance weeks if we can manage to maintain things at that level. And it almost takes a week or two to get back into it. So if you're having a couple of more bouts of cold or flu a year, then it can really have a meaningful decrement to your progress across that year. So people who sleep 8 hours report to have better quality of life and more satisfied with their life as well, which I thought was again one of those not one of those fancy metrics that we look at, but one of the things that can have a really subtle meaningful impact on people's lives. One of the things that I've worked with in the NHS, but also a lot of people I've worked with privately as well, that potentially I might work with people who have had health scares or health conditions that they want to manage a bit better, which definitely something I can support with. And there was this really interesting bundle of research that I came across around people who slept less than 6 hours versus people who slept 7 to 8 who had health conditions and what they compared. So people who slept less than 6 hours per night compared to the 7 to 8 recommended. People with diabetes had worse blood sugar control. People with hypertension or high blood pressure, you might refer to it as, had higher on average blood pressure readings. And people who had high cholesterol had lower LDL and higher HDL, which again is that good and bad cholesterol that we want to sort of manage. So again, when we're looking at people with similar health conditions as well, sleep plays a key role within that. So I want to round this off with a few final notes, and I thought it was really important to cover these meaningful statistics because hopefully we can develop the why this is a big focus, and then next episode we'll look at the how, and with a powerful why we can achieve most hows. So poor sleep was associated with reduced muscle strength and power by up to 20%. Again, if we're training and you're consistently neglecting your sleep, you're missing out on gains there, and potentially, and we know the benefits of having a strong, healthy, active lifestyle, retain that muscle mass and strength over a long period of time as we age. It also plays a crucial role in sort of quality of life and in length of life as well, long term. You're more likely to get injured, and I felt like myself when I was at uni partying a lot. That's when I picked up more injuries, tend to get more colds. Obviously there's lots of things with like alcohol involved and things like that, but some of my worst injuries were around sort of times where I was probably neglecting my sleep, and that probably played a role in my opinion. It can worsen your DOMS and your muscle soreness as well, and that was something that, again, if you're getting back into training or starting training, it can really put you off if sleep isn't a good position. You could get really, really sore. And that's one of the things that often puts people off strength training, is that they do a session, they're really, really sore for a couple of days. And my role as a personal trainer is help managing people's sort of soreness and making sure they weren't going too hard during those initial sessions to put them off. But if sleep's in a poor position, which is something that, again, I could help or advise around, but I couldn't control, then it could have a really bad impact on potentially whether they're going to come back to the gym or not. Some of the stuff around better sleep, improved muscle growth and recovery after resistance training, better power output on tests, better recovery from injuries. There was a really interesting bit of research I found as well about increased sort of a nice sort of feedback loop within this as well. So people who had better sleep tended to exercise more, but also tended to follow up with better sleep as well, which I thought was a nice sort of compounding fact that we're trying to improve as well. Last of all, we're looking at mood and cognition. So people who slept the 7 to 8 hours sleep tend to have better memory and attention, feeling happier and more positive, more energy and felt less tired, which is kind of what you would know and kind of makes sense, and sort of think, well, that's obvious. More productive at work and school, better attention, decision making, better ability to learn new information and consolidate memories, better creativity and problem solving skills. And all those things can link to, if they're not in a good position, to frustration and really poor decisions as a consequence, and negative feelings towards yourself, which again is something that I work on, that compassionate element that we're all trying our best. And as you can probably see, there's lots of dots when I work with someone that we connect together. So instead of looking at one thing as a solo sort of issue and only having impact on that, having a look at the ripple effects, as I've just demonstrated with sleep there are so many things that it can impact. And just by focusing a little bit more effort on our sleep and improving it by doing a few different things that we'll discuss in the next episode, then we can have a meaningful impact across the board on our relationships, our social interactions, our work performance, our strength, our fitness, our dieting, and that all helps with health outcomes further down the line, which sleep is interrelated with as well. So in short, sleep is pretty much a superpower, and that's often how I describe it to some of my clients, and one of the things that we probably put quite a lot of focus on alongside other things. And with clients, I tend to focus on helping them find what their foundation habits are. And for a lot of clients, this is a foundation habit. And what I mean by that is, if things are getting a bit rough, if things are getting a bit much at work, what sort of things, 2-3 things, are we going to lean back into and focus most of our effort on, and forget all the add-ons and the additional nice things to have? But what sort of things really help us get into the best position possible to progress and move forward and deal with those stressful situations? And for a lot of people, trying to focus on their sleep routines, having a bedtime routine, regular sleep-wake cycles, managing caffeine, all sort of things we'll discuss in the next episode, why we do them. Huge things, and a lot of clients sort of focus and lead into those as well. So hopefully I've demonstrated around weight loss, which I know is a key goal for a lot of people, but around general health and managing and reducing the risk of sort of health conditions and lifestyle conditions long term. If you have lifestyle conditions, actually helping them manage a bit better, but also injury, mood, performance, and quality of life, all things that sound brilliant and fantastic, and just this little thing that we can put a little bit of focus into can have big rewards. So now we've covered the why. In the next episode, we're going to focus on how we're going to do that. So there you have it. Thank you very much for listening to today's episode of the Balanced Approach podcast. If you have any questions, queries, or would like to reach out to me, please do. I am at Louis Padian Nutrition, which is at LOUISPADIAN Nutrition on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and all other social media platforms. If you're looking for support in achieving your goals and living a healthier, happier, and more balanced life in the process, click the link below and inquire about working with me. Remember to subscribe to the Balanced Approach podcast wherever you're listening for more insightful episodes, and I look forward to speaking to you soon.